So finally, before we go into the material, I'd like to just go through what we expect our participants can get out of this session. So first of all, we expect participants to get key insights on the healthcare sector in Indonesia during the first half of 2021 from a media intelligence perspective. Number two, we hope the participants can discover methods and tactics to improve your social and digital media performance, utilizing insights from media intelligence. Thirdly, we expect participants, we enable the participants early access to the first Insight Framework built around brand and campaign goals developed by Dataset. And finally, how to improve your ROI in general using cloud computing. So with further ado, I am going to hand this off to Mr. Robert Cabus for the first material. Just a second. So Rob, you should have the host by now. Yes. I think you're still on mute, Rob.
Hi.
Yes.
Hey, everybody. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was our big bet, was can we hand off speakers during the Zoom meeting? So that was semi-successful, I think, on that one. So the only thing I'll add to that write-up is that I've come into the world of media intelligence really from the advertising and marketing side. And if I was to sum up all of my my focus of the roles that I've had, it's really been about integrating disciplines. I've worked in media, at creative agencies, integrated agencies, brand design agencies, data agencies. So it's really been about how can you leverage the power of integration to create more transformative insights and strategies. And that's really what we believe is the next frontier in the world of media intelligence as well. And back to the title of this, about from TMI to ROI. When we look at the history of what media intelligence has done, and a lot of you folks have been steeped in it, not too long ago, when there was the explosion of channels and content, all of a sudden there was an amazing amount of data out there that we couldn't quite get a handle on. So, it was too much information to, really get, and we were just trying to make it accessible. And probably one of the brilliant things that the media intelligence companies have done, whether they're social listening, media monitoring, have been able to take billions of data points and closer and closer to real time, be able to deliver infographics, visualizations, that allow you to know exactly what's going on. And this is highly informed and pretty remarkable when you think about what some of the platforms can do. But we're all living, as we've talked about, as Amin mentioned, in the age of accountability. And we've seen the impact on marketing and how that's changed and evolved, and on comms and how that's changing. And the world of media intelligence needs to join the party as well. And really the first step towards that is delivering on truly actionable insights. So when one of the things we wanted to set the context for was, where does media intelligence fit into the world of data sources that people use to make decisions? So, there's kind of two axes out there. There's the research that takes a long time, and then there's the stuff that's more real time. And then there's the organic data that's out there that you can take a look at without intervening. And then there's the more invasive surveys. And, really for a lot of my life, I've been on this side of the equation, and there's a lot of very powerful insights to be gained from that. As a matter of fact, from segmentation studies, focus group surveys, brand audits, those are all the heavy lifting things that clients have always looked at as, that's where I gain my insights that drive strategy. On the more real-time side of the equation, there are things that are still somewhat invasive, like A/B testing and ad testing. And then you get to the more organic data like web analytics and the world that we live in, that we're talking about today, of media intelligence out there. But the thing that's changing in the world, beyond, just looking at these things as, providing data that can inform some tactics, is that this is really the new battleground. And, to what this quote says and the reality that we live in every day is that, the people who are getting smarter about how to respond to consumers, to have some immediacy to their marketing, to be able to leverage and tap into what's going on in conversations, culture, and society on an immediate basis, are the ones who are really sort of transforming their businesses. So what we see as the opportunity is for media intelligence to step into that role of being one of the data sources that really starts to drive strategy out there. And the way we do it is very straightforward. It's looking at all of this data and a lot of the same data, but looking at it in a very different way. And when we talk about making it relevant, there's really just two things that are behind that. One is, everybody who's, doing any kind of marketing or comms work is really making two decisions. One is, what are we going to say about our company or our products or services? And then how are we going to leverage that to an effect against consumers somewhere along their journey, against raising awareness, creating more engagement, improving consideration, perceptions, and what have you. So we built our entire platform around how do we help make those decisions smarter. And we call it EVO because every brand customer relationship in the world really kind of is driven by one of three factors. It's either the experience, the part about what's it like to engage with a product or a service or a company or a store out there, and how does that affect how I believe and what I think about you? What do we have a shared sense of values, what we care about? What you care about as a brand match up with what I care about as a person? And it all manifests down into the offer. What's in it for me and what's it going to cost me at the end of the day? And these overlap because, they don't exist, totally separately. As Tom will talk about a little bit later, we'll see a case where, a fairly straightforward offer that went wrong became a really bad experience for people that actually affected how people viewed the values of a company. So, there's an interlocking relationship between all of this. And the final reason we do this is that, these are the battlegrounds that everybody talks about. So the companies who can actually pay attention and thrive in these areas and provide a better experience and use their values to greater benefit and provide better offers than their competitors far outperform their peers out there. So our whole belief was, if these are the things that actually are transformative about business, the things that really drive results out there in the marketplace, we might as well create a framework around it and start to move that way. And the final thing is back to my point about integration, because these are things that affect everybody and within the whole marketing supply and demand chain, it's a great way to actually have a platform for integrating. So whether we're media intelligence or working with media companies or creative companies, PR, marketing, we can all speak the same language. So getting into the study itself, moving a little bit out of the theory of our approach, we really want to demonstrate it. So we didn't boil the ocean, as they say. We kept this pretty focused. We are going to look across 2020 and 21 to provide some context, but the real focus of the timing aspect of this is going to be on the first quarter of this year, but we will provide some broader views. We looked at some select providers, and we looked at that data within really mainly Jakarta data base. So we looked at 5 hospitals, 4 telemed providers, and a lot of the focus of this first part of the conversation will be on the earned media part of it, but then we'll bring in insights about owned media as well. So for mainstream, we just focused on the online part of that, and then looked across some of the social platforms and forums that you're familiar with. So I'm going to talk a bit about the marketplace before Tom gets a little more into the heart of this thing. So for the marketplace, and I'm actually a little bit sorry to have to drag everybody back over the last 18 months. It feels like we do this we do this far too much. But the context is important because we know that no piece of communication that companies are putting out doesn't live within the context of what's going on in the broader world. So within the healthcare world, when we look at this, we look back to the beginning of last year, and that was actually very much like a values thing. And it was very similar as we've seen across many countries as well. This was when countries were making some decisions about how to prep for the coming virus, making decisions about what's going to be the balance between keeping business open and doing what you can to preserve life at all costs. So there's a lot of very, kind of weighty things going on at that point. And that started to move into, as actually it was coming across every country, the actual experience. So what's happening to our healthcare system? Are we getting overwhelmed? What's happening as far as my ability to go to work or stay home, and what can I do? What can I do? So a lot of the stories were about that. And we started seeing some stuff about vaccines because, that obviously became the real focus. And, part of that was just about hope because we're realizing the depth of the crisis we were in. But it was really all about, what's that going to be like in terms of what we can get. And as we rolled into, this year, it kind of continued, it ramped up. And we saw a lot of news about what people were doing to get supply of vaccines, news about how it was working. But I think the thing we've learned on Broadway is that there's just no straight line, with this virus. So, there's been a lot of news about adjusting and trying to, scale efforts that feel remedial, but, how are we, dealing with the constant shifts in this? So that's a very quick, broad look at the last 18 months. So what we do is then that we have that context is we start to look at what the top stories are. So this is a fairly traditional view. And what we want to demonstrate is that, looking at this as an insights person kind of informs me about what some of the top topics and conversations were about. But the reason we use our framework is we can start to take those stories and understand them immediately with more insight when we bucket them into our three drivers of experience, values, and offer. So when we look at hospitals and telemed on the experience side of the equation, we see that hospitals are kind of these big stories, right? Where, it's Mutiatu's, Ayu's celebration of her child's 1-year birth there. Big, things that happen in the news in terms of tragedies and attacks and how hospitals are involved, but they're fairly prolific stories. Whereas on telemed, it's more personal, it's more connected to what it means to me and, what kind of responsiveness is happening out there, for good or for bad, whether it's, a telemarketing experience or, what you're providing in terms of drive-through services. On values, again, for hospitals, it's, things like what are they investing in? What are they prioritizing? What are they claiming is most important? We'll see the word collaborations and co-opetition in here a bunch. That really seems to have got people's attention. The idea of kind of new ways of collaborating to bring new capabilities and services to people. And then on the telemed side, again, collaborations are part of it, but it's more access to kind of information that you're, providing for my wellness. And then finally on the, on the offer front, for hospitals, it's not quite as promotional. Obviously, that's a huge thing for telemed. For hospitals, it tends to be anything that gets the most attention. It's about providing more access to the services they have because they're well known. But telemedicine is obviously a newer area that's just been super essential and taken off over these last 18 months. But people are still getting a little bit of a handle on exactly what it is. But promotions are driving quite a lot of the engagement out there. So this is the stepping stone for us to be able to look at what are brands competing on. So what does this mean in terms of what are the key attributes that actually make or break attention and sentiment? What is it that the news is choosing to cover? What is it that people are choosing to talk about the most? So, for each of these, we boil it down into, these are the things that our intelligence is telling us are really driving it. So, for hospitals, it's the idea of, again, thinking about the context of first quarter or even currently today, is, what they really are interested in is, is the healthcare system crisis ready? Is it in a position to handle stuff? And the exclusivity is nice. People want to know that there's a status and a profile to the place, and responsiveness is important. Responsiveness on the hospital side is actually a little bit almost more about, the bigger picture in terms of the stories that get attention. ICU capacity, things like that, being able to handle it. Responsiveness on telemed is responsiveness to me as an individual, so whereas hospitals might be exclusive, this is about inclusive. It's a place for me. There's user friendliness, and user friendly is not only about the app experience, but once people have engaged in the app, the actual service experience is critical as well. And then on values, obviously hospitals trade off of expertise and who their doctors are, what equipment they have, co-opetition, the idea of innovating through partnerships to bring more. And because their physical presence is being community minded is something that people have an expectation of. And obviously we know that a lot of, emotion and sentiment starts with expectation and how you deliver against that. And again, because telemed is fairly new, I think there seems to be a lot of, vagueness about exactly how patient focused and wellness focused, these services are. And I don't think it's necessarily because of, things they've done. I just think it's because any new category needs to establish a level of trust over time by proving that on a daily basis. And then finally, on the offer, as we talked about, for hospitals, more about access to information, but telemedicine, and maybe it's overtraining people, but promotions are a big thing. And it's something maybe to keep in mind, over time about, what that does in terms of expectations on pricing and such. So just from the data standpoint behind all of that, it's interesting to see that in terms of the number of items out there, conversations, news stories, and what have you, that's really been about the experience on both sides of this. But really what's driving all of the engagement for hospitals, it is about experience still. But for telemed, even though, there's more items up in the experience thing, it's overwhelmingly about the offer. Those are the things that have attracted the most attention. And part of that is, the price, pricing and those classic promotions. But it's, again, the idea of providing access to people who maybe didn't have it or had a harder time getting it before. So the one thing to say is that there is one story for hospitals and one story for telemed that really drove a ton of this. But even if you take those out, it's still way over 70% for hospitals and experience and for telemed and offer. So the directional finding, holds up even if you take out the one-time thing. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is just sentiment. So that's really about what's driving engagement. So here's, a little bit about sentiment. And, like I talked about, the idea of being crisis ready was really important to people, especially at this time. They want to believe that their healthcare system can handle anything that's coming at them, especially because it's so unpredictable. So anything that feels like it's dealing with it, super positive. Anything that feels like, oh, full ICUs or it's being compromised, really gets people worried and antsy. This is all to say, because context is important. This overall category tends to have a lot more positivity, than most categories. But it is important to kind of mine and understand out there, what's driving the two. So there's a little bit of a delay on my thing. The community aspect, again, hardly any, real negativity to speak of, in there statistically, but, people love when they're seeing things that feel like it's part of making the community a safer place or supporting the community. And even if it's the community of healthcare workers close by, but in the case where a COVID hospital was canceled, that troubled people. And like I said, for hospitals, access is a really big thing. So the telehealth and there's actually, I thought going into this, there'd be a little bit more telehealth information coming from the hospital side of this. But if there's a lot of activity, and I know there's some apps for different hospitals and what have you, it wasn't necessarily surfacing in the conversations that we saw out here. And then on the telemed side, where there was, again, not a lot, but there was a little more negativity. Responsiveness is what people are conditioned to now in the app world. So you're going to live and die by that to a large extent. So the ability to, provide that with speed and quality to users is going to obviously get a great response. But anything that feels like it's then, manifesting in a slower or unresponsive way is equally going to work against you. Wellness focus, there's been a lot of stuff, and a lot of the telemed providers have been great about covering quite a range of topics that are of interest to people. But if people feel like there's issues with the health protocols or stuff like that, then that can back up on them. And nothing really negative on the offer side. There was some great, like the Halodoc partnership with the government. That's an offer because that's the nature of a lot of the conversation of what a lot of people took away from it. But that's an example of something that was a great thing for their values and experiences, as well. So that's by and large, and I'm going to try and hand this off with some elegance to I mean, I think you're going to. But in summary, we're seeing categories that are obviously highly related, but they work in very different ways. In part, not only because of the service delivery, but also because of the kind of like longstanding tradition of one side of the equation of hospitals, versus a new and emerging category that's starting to establish its relationship with people as well. So, I mean, if you're going to take me out of it, now's the time.
Okay, Rob. So thank you. So great stuff there. Again, to everyone, if you have any questions regarding Rob's material, you can either write them in the chat section or you can verbally state them, during the Q&A section. Okay, so great stuff, Rob. So next, I'm gonna hand this over to Mr. Aristama Rusli. Good morning, Tama. You seem to be still on mute.
Yeah. Okay, good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Rob, for the introduction and also the EVO methodology. And thank you for Amin. So let me share my screen first. Okay, I will start. My name is Tama, and I'm from Sonar. So basically, anything related to service innovation, digital transformation, and also client reporting, that is my responsibility in Sonar. I think that's all about this. And also, what we are doing in Sonar is trying to align with the newest technology, especially with artificial intelligence and Industry 4.0. Okay, let's start with the brand. So, as Rob mentioned before, so we collect the data with the earned media and also the owned media, meaning that the earned media is the people conversation in social media, and the owned media is the official account from brand post in the social media. We try to differentiate this kind of data, and then for now, for our first discussion, we're gonna discuss about a brand in terms based on the earned media point of view or people conversation. So this let's see here. So this is the insight that that Rob has already presented before, and now look for the 3 hospitals and also the numbers. So we can see in here the experience topic has a lot of engagement in here. So we're gonna focus with this, and you can see. Oh, probably I should mention Mutia Ayu is the wife of the late Glenn Fredly. So she has a one child, 1 year old celebration in her social media account. So in the other one, there's also an accident for bitten by Komodo and also heart attack. So this 2 kind of social media posts is not from the hospital. It's from this Mutia Ayu YouTube channel and also from the online media account. Somehow, this two kind of event has a lot of engagement, and somehow hospital is related to them. How? Because Mutia Ayu said that the baby birth process in Rumah Sakit Pondok Indah, and also the victims after the accident, they were treated in the Siloam Hospital. So this is pretty interesting that the story coming from people's story related to the hospital. And now what can the brand do about that? Because this is the people's story is the one that engage the most, especially for the experience topic. I will talk about that later. And then now we look for the telemedicine. There's different between hospital and telemedicine, because telemedicine, people is interested with two offers and values, and you can see in here the offers is the collaboration, the two kind of collaboration. Raisa as collaborator having an ads, and also collaboration between partners, something like Grab and Gojek, and also government with the telemedicine app joined to have a vaccine center, or like Telkomsel providing health info for Telkomsel from Halodoc. So that's the kind of offers that has a lot of interest from people. Okay. So the takeaway, let's see here. So as I mentioned before, what to do for the hospital. Let's talk about the hospital first. The one that engage the most in the experience topic is the people story. The Mutia Ayu and the victim is not coming from the hospital. So the story focus is secondary. Hospital becoming the supporting actor in the story. So and then so what to do with that? So as you can see that brand needs to engage more in the people's story. So instead, so the common strategy that a brand has, they have to have a lot of posts in social media channels. But this shows that because the main story is the people's stories, so hospitals should engage in the people's story. I will tell you later how can hospital engage in the people's stories. And then the story angle for the hospital is more to the industry itself. So because there is Nurse Day appreciation and appreciation for health workers, and also information about the treatment, information about the service, so also about the industry. And the EVO is the experience topic because of the people's story. So the challenge is that company should have a brand attention, and it is different to the telemedicine, because telemedicine is all about the product and the apps especially. So the story is becoming from themselves, and also the EVO part is what is the most that people interested is for the offer topic. However, if you can see here, the value is quite a bit the same. So all the telemedicine provider still talk the same thing, like health info. Most of it is talking about health info and COVID related. So people is listening to that kind of only sharing to that kind of the information, not yet providing a differentiate the key features of every telemedicine providers. Okay, now what to do with the brand engagement in the social media? So we introduce EVO scores to calculate sentiment and engagement, to have brand performance scores based on the brand drivers. You can look in the left side, experience, fails, and offers, because we have two categories. So we look for every category, hospital and telemedicine. Then we calculate the category performance, and then after that we compare the brand performance to have the actual EVO score for every hospital or telemedicine. So let me discuss about the EVO score for one of the brand, which is Rumah Sakit Pondok Indah. So we have two key features: sentiment and engagement. So what we do is we calculate the brand sentiment for experience, value, and offers, and then compare with the category sentiment from other hospitals that we collected, the data we collected, and then we look for the brand scores. So if you see here, Pondok Indah, Rumah Sakit Pondok Indah has better value compared to others, 104. And then the score for express and offer is underperforming compared to the competitors. And then we also do the same calculation for the engagement. For the engagement, the experience from Rumah Sakit Pondok Indah is performing better. And then at the end, we combine the score from the sentiment and engagement to have the total drive scores. After we calculate from one brand, what we do is we compare all the numbers from all brands, like 5 hospitals. So you can, in here you can see why is Pondok Indah have great value, 108, because the experience is better than the other hospitals, and also Siloam is having great because of the number of values and offers, and Mayapada is performing well because of the value that they offers to the people. And then here we can see the high performance is based on engagement and sentiment is performed by Siloam and Mayapada, both in engagement and sentiment. And we can also look for every brand driver, experience, values, and offers. We can see in here the one that is performing well, both in engagement and sentiment, is Siloam Hospital in the offer side. Okay, now we go to the telemedicine. We look the comparison of the EVO scores for telemedicine providers, and we can see in here the Good Doctor has performing well because of the offer they have with Raisa, and the Halodoc is performing well because the experience they have compared to the others. And then the brand position in here, we can see the Good Doctor is higher in the engagement, while Halodoc is better in the sentiment. We can also look for the every brand drivers. Halodoc and Good Doctor receive high sentiment for experience. Good Doctor, because the collaboration with Grab and also with Raisa have with the promotion dominating the engagement. Now we see for the word cloud, meaning that what is people talking the most, we break it into the keywords. So this is for hospital. We have 3 examples, Rumah Sakit Pondok Indah. Interestingly, that the doctor, they have a lot of health live webinar in there. So the doctors is doing Instagram or Facebook webinar, and you can see in here with different hospital, people has different focus. For Rumah Sakit Pondok Indah is the doctor, the Siloam is the collaboration with malls for vaccine centers, and for the Eka Hospital is the equipment, the equipment that they have, and also staff training, something like a doctor conference in the hospital. So people is differentiating their focus on each hospital, which is good. And not many negative sentiment, but look at the telemedicine. We have good doctor, hello doctor, and hello doc. So probably let me tell about the negative sentiment. So good doctor has a vaccine program. Let me remind you, this is the data for January to March 2021. So the vaccine program is new, and the health protocol probably is not as secure as now. So people is complaining about that. And our doctor has an aggressive telemarketer action, and people doesn't like it. So I will specifically talk about this telemarketer action later. And then for HaloDoc, there's an ad from them that not really in line with laws. So that's the complaint.
Sorry, Tama, to interrupt.
Yeah.
Can you please kindly admit some people are still in the waiting room? Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry. I forgot I'm the host.
No worries. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, now we talk about the key takeaways for EVO brand. So the engagement from hospital is low, unfortunately. So yeah, unfortunately it's low. That's why the challenge is about awareness. Hospital needs to speak more, to engage more to the social media people, because the catalyst now is the event, the accidents, or the celebrity posting the service in the hospital. Because hospital has a great start, people starting to differentiate the key focus of the hospital. So this is good. And then for the leaders, the doctors, is people looks very respectfully, especially for the expert, because there is a Jokowi doctor for having vaccination, and also other expert having research in COVID-19 or other areas. And for telemed, the engagement is moderate, but still the catalyst is the celebrity, because of the ads, and also the promotion, and also the collaboration with other partners. And the people still see the generic message from the brand, because it is mostly health info that they try to publish for the post. So the brand should need the every telemedicine provider should have a key message they want to focus, so people can differentiate every telemedicine providers. So the positioning is very important for the telemedicine providers. Okay, let's see for the brand opportunities. So I mentioned before about the people stories in the hospital. So this is Mutia Ayu child birthday. So let me tell you what happened. This in the YouTube video. Mutia Ayu has 1 year's old child celebration, and they mentioned the baby in the caption. The baby birth process happened in Rumah Sakit Pondok Indah 1 year ago. Okay, so what can brand do about that? So first, brand should know where this kind of posts happen. So after they know, they can do, for example, as Rumah Sakit Pondok Indah admin. So they can do commenting on the Mutia Ayu post to congratulate them as the celebration, and then to give advice. So what to do for your one year old baby? What of treatment? What you have to do, and then give them service and information.
Oh yeah,
So,
Tom.
yeah.
Oh, sorry to jump in, but I thought like the data that you shared earlier was right interesting on that issue, because engagement was super high, right? It was like, so it was a 400 index, but sentiment stayed very, very low for them in this category. And I think that's a good indication of the gap or the opportunity that the brand has to actually participate in the conversation around this. And you realize, we realize for healthcare and hospitals, it's not like you just want to jump in and exploit something in any way, whether it's good news or bad news. But I think to Thomas' point, the idea of adding value based on what you see in the conversations happening. So, the value of real-time insight into what people are talking about, and then say, oh, is there some sense of either confusion or questions or interests that are happening? And we see a lot of that would be amazing for a hospital to jump in on and add some value to that. So sorry to interrupt, but I thought
No problem.
I thought the data was an interesting manifestation of the gap and the opportunity there.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Rob. So yeah, this is all about the opportunity. So the brand doesn't have, the brand has another opportunity to look for the people's stories and then jump and engage with the stories as the supporting actor, like the example in the Mutia Ayu child's birthday. For another example is the victim stories. So this two stories. There's Komodo victims and heart attack victims. So what happened is this mostly viral by the mostly viral by the online media posts. So what happened is that the Komodo victim is treated to the after the accident is treated in the Siloam hospital. And then after that, people is asking what happened to the victim. Is he okay? People is worried. So hospital has an opportunity to jump to the conversation to inform if the victim after the treated in the ICU treatment is getting better. Hospital has an opportunity to inform people, to make them not worry. So it's not only promoting what you have, but also sharing the information that you have that people is interested into. For this example, they are worried what happened to the victims, and then Siloam Hospital has the information to share about after the ICU treatment. Okay. Now I will talk about the aggressive telemarketing practice. Okay, this is let me tell you the story. So our doctor has a telemarketer program that has that dengue insurance program and offered to the people. As the nature of telemarketer, the nature of the telemarketing program, some of the telemarketer acts too aggressively. So it's not Allo Doctor problem fault, but it is the nature of the program. So what happened is people is getting angry because a lot of negative sentiment happened, and then you can see in here, and it is affect all the brand drivers for experience. People is annoyed, by the program offering. For the value, people is asking the brand motive, and then uh, and uh, and angry about the data privacy issue misuse. And then for the offer, they're also getting aggressive because they want to cancel the program. They don't want to use Allo Doctor anymore. So what to do? What to do with if something happens, something like this? So you can see in the positive, there is a program confirmation in here. So this is a good thing because Allo Doctor is confirming that they have a telemarketer program. It's true, but that's the only confirmation that they have. Meanwhile, they have like a 40% negative sentiment. They should have more confirmation, more giving more information about the telemarketer program and the nature of it, comforting people about their uh, uh, their negative sentiment, to have better understanding from the people. So yeah, probably the negative sentiment is still there, but what a brand can do is having a more program confirmation, so people will understand for the nature of the telemarketer program.
And oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, as we've, done a little bit of work across, some early clients with this, this is a particular area where we've really seen, what the benefit of having positive brand values are when something negative happens. And we all know this in theory, but we really see it in practice. And there's been a couple of instances where, something went wrong with a brand experience or offer, but because their values were so strong, we saw actually some negativity early, but then a lot of people coming in to defend the brand because they believe their motivations were right and their practices were right. But it was just a momentary slip up. But again, in a new category, when you're trying to establish that trust, that positive base of perceptions and feelings about a brand aren't necessarily there yet.
Yeah, so the interesting part is it has happened with Halodoc, but other brands should know also the negative sentiment happened to other people, because even though it is the problem that Halodoc has, people is asking to Halodoc. So do you have this kind of telemarketer program that is quite aggressively to people? So yeah, Halodoc doesn't have that, and then they have they act very good because they give the confirmation to people. No, we don't have that. So what is happening to a brand in your industry? Other brands should know, because it might be affect to your company as well, as people might ask. Okay. Now for the activation. So this is the key category message for every experience, values, and offers. And then you can see in here, Siloam is performing well in almost most of the category message. But we have to see the red box in here. This is the area that the brand should focus, because it still lack, or people is not talking a lot about this in social media conversation. And also for experience is the high profile facilities, and value is the advanced medical expertise. Yes, Ceylon has, but Rumah Sakit Pondok Indah doesn't have, and community minded also. And the interesting part is the service of the affordability. Yes, probably I know now probably a hospital cannot change the price of the service because it is pricey and great service, but in social media, people is complaining. The brand can share more information about the service, more information about the treatment, and share the benefit of this service. Why? So people is understand, have more understand about that, why the price is expensive. So I think that's what the brand can do in social media. And this is for the telemedicines. The value, yes, the patient focus still lack of conversation in social media. Also for the experience, for the user friendliness and the responsive service, it is still lack. And yeah, probably the user friendly I will talk later in the gap analysis, because there's different between what brand try to offer and what people complaining. So the key message here, the sentiment is positive, and the telemedicine is mixed, and the gaps is, yes, hospital still people still don't understand why the price is expensive, and the hospital is not yet informing people about the treatment well to people. So people, hospital need to share more information about the treatment, because they are selling the price, and then people is complaining because the price is high. And then for the telemedicine, the gap is still in the experience and value. The offer is good because it's all about promotion, good in terms of engagement, but not good in terms of the issue variation, because all about the promotion. And what the telemedicine provider need to more focus in the experience and value topics. Okay, this is the example of the telemedicine providers, the gap analysis. So the main story is what brand tries to tell by their post or other people posts, and then we look at the comment. So we look for the post and we look for the comment. So we try to look what is the gap in it. So for the experience, so the brand tries to have the information about the feature of the product or the apps, for example, like how to do the online chatting with doctors. But then the netizen complain about, okay, I can do online chatting with the doctors, but I have to wait long enough so the doctor can will answer my chat or other. So people can do the online booking in the hospital, but then when they are going to the hospital, it is not fast as they are expected. So so that's the gap of the experience. For the value, I really appreciate what the telemedicine tries to do here, because it is connecting people with healthcare industry. It's connecting people with the doctors. But the problem is, because it's new and people doesn't look face to face with the doctors, they don't really trust the doctors. That's the problem, because they are accommodating within the apps. So the telemedicine provider should give more information about the doctor, and should work on the trust that the doctor needs to be able to do their work with people. And then the offer is still the same, the affordable access, because it is the cost is higher, is almost the advice is the same as before. The telemedicine providers should give more information about the treatment, what is the benefit of the people, so people will understand why it is pricing. Okay, oops. This is the influencers. So this is Muti Ayu and there's Raisa. This is two kind of stories where influencer, no, where a celebrity having a lot of engagement for healthcare industry. For Raisa, it is an ad. So the brand is paying Raisa. The Muti Ayu is the people's story. So if a brand is engaging in Mutia Ayu's post, they don't have to pay anything. But the good part is they have a lot of engagement. So so there's nothing right or wrong. This is the way that a brand can have a lot of engagement from the celebrities. Okay, for okay, sorry. For the next one, the influencer impact, it is the expert, the doctors, because one of the doctors is the President Jokowi vaccinator, and also a lot of doctors becoming an expert and do live health live webinar. This is a lot. This is a good thing. And for the telemedicine is the community one that picks the engagement, the communitas parenting for sharing the health info, and also the partner, something like Telkomsel, Grab, Gojek, having collaboration with the brand. Okay. Now, before we look from the perspective of earned media, people conversation. Now we look for the perspective of owned media. So what is the brand trying to tell you in their social media official account? Okay, so for hospital, for experience, of course, the elderly vaccination, and also the centers, the IVF centers for pregnancy and vaccine centers, and then online medical record access by MySilom apps. For experience, it is guided online chat for doctors and schedule vaccine scheduling. For the value, is the appreciation of the healthcare for the hospital, health workers and the nurse, and also COVID related. For the telemedicine, it is mostly about sorry. It is mostly about the health info. It's mostly about the health info. Yeah, and then the story is almost the issue is almost the same for every telemedicine providers. So most of them in the value topics has posting about the health info, an article about the health info, and for the offer is this promotion and also ads. Promotion something like sales with the price and giveaway. And we look in here, the activity in values is a lot for hospital and telemedicine. I probably look for the telemedicine values topic, because the topics, the top topics is about articles in health info, and we know that it is only one of the feature from telemedicine providers. Telemedicine providers offers a lot of different values to customers, but unfortunately, the most engaged one is only happening for the article about health info, and also it is quite a bit similar with the strategy of value for online media, online media focusing on the healthcare. So it is something like the telemedicine provider is too focusing on the health value and ignoring their other values topics. And then we can see in here for all the insights you can see is coming from the insight from the earned media for the people conversation, and then the one with bold keyword is the only the issue that brand tries to post in their social media account. So for experience is only responsiveness and user friendly for the app usage. The value is the community minded, which is the appreciation for the health worker, and also wellness focus, especially for the health info article for telemedicine. And the offer is the access and promotional for the telemedicine is quite a bit the same. Is a promotional of the product and also COVID related. Okay, now we can see in here this all the telemedicine channel. So they are really aggressive in the Facebook, which is a good thing. And then we'll see like Hello Doctor is focusing on values. Good Doctor is also in everything, experience, values, and offer, but mostly in Instagram. Hello Doc is in the offer and also in values. Click Doctor is in values in Facebook and Instagram. And as I said before, values topic is really have a lot of engagement, but the topic is quite a bit the same. It's about the article of health info. Okay, this is the number for the hospital from Eka Mayapada Siloam. So we can see in here the Eka has a lot of experience in Instagram. Mayapada create a lot of engagement in value topics in Instagram. Podokinda have a lot of numbers in Facebook, good and also in offers in Instagram. And Siloam is performing better in value topics in Instagram. So this is an advice for brand in the healthcare industry. So if you want to have engagement in experience, let's do it in YouTube and Instagram because that's where the engagement happens for the engagement part. But also if you look to Instagram, it's work for every brand driver for experience, value, and offer is very effective for Instagram. And for value is meaning something like community base or partner. The brand can explore the opportunity to collaborate with partners or community driven to have value topics to be taught by people. And for celebrity influencers, so it is giving the experience topic high engagement, the example of Mutia Ayu, and also offer for the ads. Yeah, Facebook is performing well in promotion, of course. And then we have a victim stories accident in our data. So it is coming from online media or anything related to national news is coming from online media. Okay, so what to do for hospitals? So if you have a campaign goals, so what you have to do is let's look for the high profile moment it is coming from something like the one child celebration or baby birth experience or treatment service or something like accidents, and then put value in there, probably interacting in there, looking, having a post about that, or interacting in their social media account. But you have to do in the real time. So because it's the nature of social media, you have to do in the real time. And then for the value part, because people seems know to differentiate the focus of the hospital. So the hospitals should focus more into that kind of area that people is interested, because for now the post from hospital is quite a bit low. And then for the offer, of course, tell people more information about the treatment, about the service, so people understand why it is expensive. Okay, for the telemedicine, for the experience, so to have many engagement, the brand should have collaboration partners, collaboration like it is a collaboration like Gojek, Grab, and government doing a vaccine center is a great thing to have more engagement. People know what you have done, and also there's a lot of collaboration with Persip doing the webinar is also good. So collaboration is making the telemedicine provider better in terms of engagement. And then for the value in terms of awareness, building trust for the expert, for the doctor, for the service that you have, so people understand the service. This is new service that people should interact within the apps in terms of going directly to the hospitals, but they still need more introduction and more trust to do it better. And then for the offer, because what we have seen in here, it is all about promo and giveaway. So probably offer something beyond that promo or giveaway, because what is better about promo and giveaway? People is only interested when there is promo and giveaway. But yeah, the telemedicine provider is offering a lot of more features other than promo and the giveaway.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing. Oh, sorry. Yeah. One last thing, but yeah, that last point is, I know it's a tricky one, but I think people are becoming conditioned to looking for promos or waiting for promos. And, you know, while that's a good way to drive trial and engagement and those kind of things, as we saw in the gap analysis, it makes people believe that the everyday prices are higher than they would expect and versus expectations. So it'll be a question for the players in the category about how to achieve that balance. Is it going to be completely a promotional machine where, you know, that's always driving engagement, or is it going to be through the everyday value of what telemedicine provides?
Okay.
Okay, I think.
Okay, thank you, Tama. That was great stuff. A lot of numbers there, you know, for everybody to process. So I think moving on to our next and final speaker is Mr. Sultan Arifan from Huawei. Good morning, Mr. Sultan. I just handed you the host. Can you?
Hello, thank you, Pak, for setting me as the host.
Yep.
Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, thank you, everyone. And then, so thank you for Sonar dataset also Huawei to organize this event. And then what two speakers already talking about the telemedicine and the hospital brand sentiment or brand analysis. And then jump in my presentation, I will more focus on the what behind that, because the sonar or data set, they will have the system that hosted in the servers, and then how they crawling the data, how they crawling the information from Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or something. Basically, is using the cloud, the server for cloud computing. So let me jump into my presentation. It's about obviously it's about Huawei. So as you know, Huawei is one of the leading ICT infrastructure and smart devices in the world. Our motto is bring digital to every person, homes, organization, for a fully connected and intelligent world. So by that motto, we need to build a solid team in the world. As you can see in the screen, right now we have more than 197,000 employees worldwide. And then from the presentation, 53.4% our employees are dedicated for the R&D, the research and development. As you can see, every quarters we every month, every quarters we launch new products, new innovations, new new ICT ICT products. It's based on what our R&D support so far. And then right now we already serve in more than 170 countries and regions in the world. And then in terms of the R&D investment, right now we put as number on world number 3 highest R&D investment. If we compare with some big brand like IBM or something, our R&D is much more higher than that. And then for Global Fortune 500, we rank as 49 for last year. And then here for the ICT product and services what we have in Huawei. Firstly, we do have the customer business, carrier business, enterprise business. So far, the carrier business is more bring big portion for Huawei, because you know our technology like the 5G, 4G, and maybe future, maybe for sure we already do some research for the 7G right now. And then with the 3 businesses, we do have one base new business called business, and what I'm right now doing in Indonesia. And so far, our cloud business is just established around 3 years in the world, and then it's 2 years in Indonesia. Okay, so you can see here the revenue what we got every year from our sales is increasing. In terms, we do have the pandemics here, but our revenue is still increasing during the pandemic. Because during the pandemic, we much help the enterprises. We much had many medical enterprise to serve them better for serving the customer. And then also you can see here the carrier business is working for the 5G network right now, and then some countries already established their 5G technology using the Huawei equipment. Also, the enterprise business right now they're serving more than 700 cities in the world, and more than 250 Fortune Global 500 companies to help them for the digital transformation, and also the cloud computing. What we try right now is to grow the cloud business based on one cloud. This means the public cloud. 2 wings. 2 wings mean private cloud and the edge cloud, and two engines. What we have, the Roma and then Kingtian architect. So the last thing I can mention here, this year we succeed to launch our own operating system called Harmony OS 2.0. And then it's not just only the smartphone or the tablet operating system, it's more like the ecosystem, life ecosystem operating system. So we have the cars, smartphones, smartwatches, smart home devices, and others, and it's connected in one Harmony operating system. In Indonesia itself, we serve more than 2,000. We have 2,000 more employees, almost, and 90% for local employee. And then our headquarters in Wisma Mulia, Jakarta. And then you can see some information here. But I will not focus in this field right now. What we do during the COVID-19 is we help some cities or some islands. You can see in terms of the connectivity, we help the Sebaru Islands to serve 1 Gbps connectivity with microwave high capacity. So the company can help the company and the telecommunication industry can easily making that to that islands. Also here the AI diagnostic. You can see here we help the RSPRD for CT scan that before we apply this technology, they need more than 5 hours for the CT scan. But right now, with AI cloud AI technologies, 2 minutes, only 2 minutes for the diagnostic. And then here's some others even what we're doing during the COVID. And let's jump about this one. If many people asking when Huawei will open the data center in Indonesia, we will have it on the 2022 before half years next year. And then in terms of the return of investment, we highly propose for the enterprise using the OPEX for their IT infrastructure, because CAPEX mode, the company need more upfront cost, so means they have less cash for daily operation. Let's say they need some investment or something, it will cost much on the CAPEX. Also, with the CAPEX, the businesses are locked into long-term commitment, and the companies cannot make easily make the changes. And then for the return on investment, for the CAPEX, it will be longer than OPEX. Why? Because CAPEX they need to invest big money in the first stage, right? But later I will explain about the OPEX. And then for the TCO is higher, and then the many hidden charges like the electricity, like the manpowering or something. If we look at the OPEX, at the OPEX, they no major anticipate expenses, because so the company can use their cash to invest in other things. Also, the payment timeless are shorter. Business can pivot their investment easily as needed. As what the speaker mentioned before. And then in OpEx, if we purchase the on-premise or something, they will have the expenses like air conditioner, room, or the technical or something. But with cloud, they no need any responsible for that. So Huawei will take responsible for any maintenance, any repairs in our on data centers. And then for the return on investment, it can be immediately, because many cases infrastructure is managed by Huawei, so the company just focus on the business growth, and then when they have the fast growing, they just and they need more bigger IT infrastructure. They can just easily expand in only a second, not on hours or not on days or months. Also, the business can make the accurate calculation, because every month the company will get the details what they use and what they use, and then what next month they don't need anymore. So just delete, and it's very easy. Also, the in capex, the TCO is not transparent. I mean, there's many hidden costs. But in the OpEx, especially if you're using the Huawei Cloud, the TCO is completely transparent. So you know what the things that you are using on our cloud. Something. So here are some cases that we already serve in Indonesia. I will mention some of them. Firstly is the NMC. We help the NMC for the cloud native. So many the application right now is adopting the cloud native application. Also, as you know, the celebrities.id is one of our collaboration with NMC to launch this website. And then many more projects are coming with NMC, and then we'll launch to the customer soon. Also for the JNT Express, you know, during the pandemic, the online buying is the online buyer is higher than before. I mean, before it's already higher, but now much more higher. So let's say JNT, they can have one day they can have 1 million package to serve to the customer. But during the double days, let's see 9, 9, 10, 10, 11, 11 or something, they can serve in days, they can serve around 10 million. So you can imagine how they need the good infrastructure and the flexible infrastructure. So let's see if we using the on-premise Zephyr, they cannot make it fast for the expand. But in Huawei Cloud, just in second they can expand their server to serve the big day for the online shopping. And then for the Citicorp, right now we're working to provide them the private cloud. But what we have done before for the MotoGP live stream in the TIC and the Trust 7, with the concurrent user is more than 200,000 people. The user bill is very good. There's no complaint for the user experience so far. And then with more choices for the quality, video quality. And the last one is in the Rumah Sakit Pusat Pertamina. Rumah Sakit Pusat Pertamina, we help them for the AI assistant. So what also we do in RSPAD before, we help them for the AI diagnostic for the CT scan. Before it need take more than 5 hours, but now it's less than 2 minutes for the result. And then here are some customer references in Indonesia. You can see there's the logistics or another company you can I mentioned here. And then this is our international and China based company that we already served them more than 2 or 3 years. This is what I taught you in the earlier. Our motto: bring digital to every person, organization, homes for fully connected intelligent work. So I give back to Pak Amin. Thank you, Pak Amin, for the time.
So thank you, Mas Sultan. Very good to know that you're planning to have a data center here by 2022.
Yes, Pak.
Right.
So that's why we can serving the healthcare in next year. Next healthcare also the finance.
Cool. Okay, thank you. So I think we're at 11:35, so we have 25 minutes to go through questions and answers. Thank you everybody for submitting your questions through the chat. So let me just go through some of the questions. Rob, Tam, please get ready.
Yeah.
So okay, so here's a few questions that we have. So let me just put them up for you. So the first question is, any of you can jump in and answer this. So a lot of people talking about actionable insights now. So there's various formats for, reports, everybody has different ways of doing it. So how is EVO different? What value does it bring to the readers, analysts of this report?
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. And it's even where you almost don't want to use the phrase actionable insights because so many people use it. And I guess just two things, one is that, what I've seen is a lot of things that 3 or 4 years ago were called data observations were just relabeled, so the exact same kind of data is now being called actionable insights. So, I think it's getting a little bit bankrupt, but it's a really important step for the industry to take to actually be able to do that. So I think, for us, that's what gets back to the idea of tying it into what campaign decisions are typically being made. And the more closely you can connect your insights to that is what you do. And that's why you need to upfront understand that, because that'll influence how you gather, process, and analyze all the data. So even if we're taking a lot of the exact same data, the ability to look at it very differently and put it into a context that lets you make those decisions is a starting point. So
it's a basis for the decision you should be making based on the data that is out there. Yeah, start at the end. Like what are we going to do with this information? And that's always the first thing we ask clients is either what do you do with it or what could you do with this? Great.
Okay, probably I can add. I mean, so actionable insights. There's insights in there. So the problem now is how do we get a great insight so people know what to do, what to act. So with the EVO, we differentiate between experience, offers, and also value. It's make it easier for people to understand the insights, because sometimes people doesn't understand. The data is there, the analysis is there, but they don't understand to read the insights. So EVO helps people to read the insights, and then furthermore to make it very clear that we can act based on the insights. Okay, so we're trying to avoid the traditional data dumps. Yes. Okay, right. Got it. Thanks. Now moving on to our next question. So from your perspective, how effective is the presence of doctor influencers on social media to spread awareness about healthcare or COVID-19? Do they need to share the content themselves, or do they need to collaborate with hospitals or telemeds to spread the message to increase credibility? I could jump in on the end of that one, and maybe Tom, if you have a view early. I will answer it. So which one?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the question is not the presence of doctor influencer. So what the brand will do, like we discuss about in the healthcare industry, we discuss about hospital, we discuss about telemed, but there's also other actors in related to the healthcare industry, pharmacy industry, education industry. So if there is no hospital or telemed approaching the doctor to influence their expertise in social media, others will do. So it is highly important that brand have to collaborate to with doctors because they are the experts. So yeah, that's my answer.
This is interesting. So, a follow-up for that would, could something like EVO or media intelligence be used to identify which doctors they should be working with?
Yeah, because with EVO we can understand that the expertise of the doctor, what kind of value that the doctor offers, which is what kind of brand driver they related to, which is experience, values, or offers, because many doctors is different. Like example, like experts and also many things. Experts in COVID-19 experts, like a live webinar, but also now there's emerging area of doctors such as Dr. Tirta, it is not an expert of any health specialist treatment, but it is in the more public how to say it in English, in general health yeah, public service. So it's and he's very famous, but he's not the expert of any other any specialist medical treatment. So yeah, it's important.
Yeah, brands will have a very specific view on how they're positioned, what kind of relationship they want with customers out there, who is their audience, and that all serves as the basis for being able to find influencers who really match up with that. And for some, like for instance, if I'm a hospital and I really want to push the idea of our expertise, there are certain types of influencers who are really good at almost some of the technical stuff and advanced stuff versus if I just want to be more about the humanity of healthcare. That's a different sort of approach to it. So I think that's how we would use the tool to be able to identify influencers that align with what the brand is trying to do out there in the marketplace.
So yeah, just to add one more thing to that, since Rob, you're in Singapore, are doctor influencers also a thing in Singapore, or or globally in that perspective, or is this just an Indonesian thing?
Oh yeah, no, I don't think it's just an Indonesia thing. I think that issue of doctors on their own, or that. I mean, if doctors are going to do that, they will. But what you see quite often when doctors go out and do that, even if they're affiliated with an institution, is that a lot of the takeaway from people seems to be about, oh, that's nice that he's doing that on his own time, which is a reflection on that the hospital group isn't actually making this guy available to us or making doctors available. So it just really seems to benefit or be in the interest of these institutions to say, we have a strategy and what we're trying to do. We have a bunch of different tools to do it. One of those is influencers. So what can we do with doctors to bring our story out, in there? Because I mean, a bit surprisingly to me, but like I say, when you just let those things happen individually, it feels like almost a poor reflection in some cases that I've seen on the institutions.
Yeah. Great. Okay, so moving on to our next question from the chat. So in order to drive positive sentiment, what should the telemedicine apps do? What message should they emphasize between experience, values, and offer?
Yeah, I think Tom had talked a little bit about that at the end on that. It's kind of that EVO chart where it talks about some of the messaging opportunities that we saw. The couple of things that struck me in this process were, and we talked about this a little bit, but on the offer side of it, I think there really needs to be because there's some perceptions that it's more expensive than people expect.
Mm.
And there's a lot of promotions. You can train people just to wait for promotions, even though it's in all likelihood, in reality, a good deal in terms of affordable healthcare and access to healthcare. It's all about perception. So, you know, that's one part of it as well. I also think, you know, like we saw in some of the negative issues where there's not necessarily clarity on just how patient focused and how wellness focused the telemedicine providers are right now. That actually takes work to do. So a lot of it is driven obviously by the experiences people have, but I would look at perhaps a greater focus. You know, we identified what we believe to be some real key attributes and areas out there in the values area. But what we have seen is that there's just a massive range of stuff being put out by folks. And yeah, there's a ton of medical issues, but the feeling to me was that there maybe wasn't enough focus on some of the values driven, the key values driven thing that can establish trust with people at this stage.
Okay.
Yeah, probably I can add. Yeah, I think I explained about the story versus netizen gaps, which is there's a gap between user experience and service experience, also trust gap for the doctors, and also, yeah, the price is still high. There's a bit different between reality and expectation. So probably, but this is not only concerning about social media activation to drive more positive sentiment, but because let's see for a user experience versus service experience. So the good intention of the telemedicine apps is having the access for people to have online chatting with the doctors, online booking in the hospitals, but there's more to the service itself than the activation in the app itself, because you are also you are also the doctor. Sorry, the doctor has a really good high priority to be well treatment by the apps also, because what can how can you improve the quality of the apps if the quality of doctor in time in the chat is not improving, or the quality of people waiting in the hospital after booking online booking is not improving. So that's the area, and that's a good thing about EVO, right? So we can bring also the information what happened in the real world, not also in the virtual, in the social media, and then of course that problem it brings to other department company like a product, but to minimize the effect, the activation in social media should also cover the difficulty of people doing such action in the apps.
Okay. Because when people have bad experiences, they share on social media. So, that actually adds to what we can inform the brands on how to improve in experience values and offers. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to our next one. Okay, this is about TikTok. Okay, do you have any opinions on TikTok? Since I recently saw that some doctors are also using TikTok to spread awareness around healthcare and COVID-19 as well.
I don't know. I mean, probably this is your part, because I'm not. I'm not the one who is selling in here. I'm just doing presentation.
Yeah. Since I think in this one we haven't added in TikTok because this is the first half of 2021. But interestingly, obviously our next reports will include TikTok data. So for this report, we haven't included this in yet, but this is becoming an important channel. And we also see lots of influencers also on TikTok. So yeah, this will be definitely included in our next report. Okay, moving on to the next one. So what kind of conversations are mostly talked about regarding telemedicine, social media? So since we know that people tend to avoid visiting hospitals directly during this pandemic.
Yeah, well, I mean, the stuff that we shared and saw is a range of a few things, right? There was a lot of the things about collaboration, and I come back to that a lot because I thought that was really fascinating. The different collaborations that happened really seemed to capture people's imagination and attention out there. And I think maybe again, if we look at the broader context of the times we're living in, I think people like the innovation and the ideas that different companies can get together and do things that bring them benefit. Outside of that, there are certain topics in terms of wellness and proactive communication, sex education. There was a lot revolving around that. I say sex education, parenting, and child care were very big topics, and those are topics that seem to get a lot of people interested. And also, to a little bit of the conversation earlier, there's also certainly on the sex education part about myths, facts, things like that. That's also where you can. We saw people venturing into a bit of miscommunication, online bullying, and things that might have been an opportunity for a provider to kind of come in and clarify, or maybe provide a little bit of a safer space in there. But those were some of the top topics. Besides some of the big celebrity type promotions.
So stick to the top topics and generate generate engagement. So that's the key message, I think. Okay. Moving on. Okay, if Facebook is still relevant for the elderly and adults, wouldn't it be good to have them under experience and values?
Yeah, I think we've seen them, show up across the board there. I think the point on Thomas' chart a little bit earlier is that there's a decent amount of usage for those things and good engagement and exposure. What seemed interesting in the pop a little bit though was that they were rarely used on the offer side of what we saw, but it was quite a response. So I would just look at that, and I don't have a definitive conclusion. That's just one of those data points you see and say, let's take a look at that a little bit more deeply, because maybe they can be used as an offer tool to a greater extent than we have before.
Okay, so Facebook is still relevant, obviously, from the data you went through in the presentation. So yeah, that's that's.
Yeah, the only other comment, is kind of the owned versus earned thing, right? We saw a ton of activity happening on owned, but it didn't necessarily feel like the stuff happening on people's owned media was translating out out beyond that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think sorry, probably I can add. The good thing about Facebook is if you want to have an ads in there, so they have a really good targeting ad program, so can really targeting elderly and adults. So yeah, that's one way to see that.
Okay. Great. So I think moving on, this question comes from chat also.
Yeah.
Engage the people's story, whether it's good or bad, can be misinterpreted by, I think engaging in people's stories can be perceived as evanescent. Is there any potential backfire crisis that may happen, as people may think the brand, is capitalizing on the issues? How can EVO help in this?
Yeah, and it's a great question, because that is probably amplified in this category, right? If you're in healthcare and there's a Komodo attack, and then somebody, a hospital comes in and says, hey, if you're ever having a tragedy, come on down to our place, because that's not what people want to hear. But we used EVO, in this case, to take a look at, what are people talking about? Are they talking about the experience people might have gone through? values or offer. But what we're able to do is, and Tama talked about this, and he used the phrase add value. How do you add value to the conversation? So if you're not doing that, then yeah, it doesn't really pay to do that. But as we've seen in some of these different threads, a lot of times there's confusion, or it raises an issue, right? So if it's the celebrity child birth, maybe it raised the issue of like, well, what about year 2, for a kid, or people start talking about that. That's a great opportunity to add value by saying, here's what to expect your kid's, child's second year, or if people are really curious about, how to prevent a certain type of tragedy from happening, or a healthcare thing happening, that's a place to kind of like jump in and be part of that conversation. So I think being sensitive to this is really smart. And like I said, it's a really good question from Matt, but there are ways to do it that can actually connect you to the story in a way that people, believe enhances your brand.
Okay. Great to know, to engage people's stories. Okay, so I think the last 2 questions are for Mr. Sultan. So, hello, Mas Sultan, are you there?
Yes, Pak. Hello.
Okay. So, yeah, from the chat, why cloud can be reliable rather than cell phone data center? Because the company data is being processed and stored in third-party company, is it safe and reliable?
Okay. If we're talking about the security, data security,
yeah.
Mostly the local data center that customer have, they don't have any certification for data security.
Okay.
But in Huawei Cloud, we do many certification of data security, and then we never selling any data to third party or something for our internal interest or something. Right?
Okay.
So also many security feature that only available in third party company like Huawei Cloud. Let's say if we're talking about the attacks, about the DDoS attack or something, maybe the local DC or small local DC in company side might not be strong than what we offer right now, Pak.
Okay.
So we in the same time we also have some case analysis, Pak. When we try do the attack in customer and in our cloud is more likely safer, Pak, to prove that the data is not be go outside or something.
Okay. Cool to know. So I think the last question before we close with the lucky draw announcement. In AI system medicine, or everything software that were explained, is the algorithm and machine learning also provided as well by Huawei, or does the hospital need to develop it themselves? This is interesting because we're on the topic of healthcare.
For this one, but what the cases what I mentioned in the earlier is what our partners develop in our platform.
Okay.
So they do the cloud algorithm and something, and how to read the CT scan using the AI analysis. Because as the concern, our as the benefit, our cloud also combined with the AI and IoT in the same time.
Okay.
So many platform that others cloud don't have, our partner can get easily in our cloud platform.
So you work with partners to help.
Yeah. So it's like a combined solution between Huawei and our partners.
Okay. Okay. Great. So to our participants, if you have any other questions that you may need to ask, that come to you after the event, you can reach out to us on this address. So just you can just simply fill in our contact form, and we'll get to the questions that you might come up with. Hey, once again, a big thank you to everybody for participating. Really appreciate everyone's time, and stay tuned for our next event, which will be held within this year. Okay, thank you all. Goodbye. Stay safe.